stoplights, etc.?
Yeah, I did see him stop once at a red light, at a stoplight. So he was abiding by traffic lights there. And this is where we just told you a moment ago, Mill Street eastbound comes to an end at Tippecanoe and runs into the San Bernardino International Airport. So he had to make that left or right turn. He made the right turn, a southbound turn on Tippecanoe. David, I'm going to toss it back to you for just a minute. I have to have a quick conversation with the assignment desk, some new information we're just now hearing about. I'll get back to you in just a bit.
All right, we're going to continue to watch Bill's picture there. There's that pursuit going on. Started in Fontana. This big rig, we're still trying to figure out exactly why police felt suspicious about this rig and tried to pull him over. We don't know anything about the driver right now. Okay, we're getting word right now that it possibly could be a case of grand theft auto. And so, as you can imagine, if somebody reports a big rig to be stolen, it may not be that hard to find it. And apparently CHP did.
Right, Bill, you've been following this guy since about 3:40, and he's seemed to slow down again.
Yeah, it's about a 40-minute chase so far. And the information we just got from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, they have a helicopter flying over the area with us. Looks like he's coming up on a red light. He might just decide to run that red light. Everyone's coming to a complete stop. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, they're indicating to us this is reported as a grand theft big rig truck. Very difficult situation for CHP officers on the ground. There are a number of CHP cruisers here in the area. There's the CHP, make that the San Bernardino County Sheriff helicopter. He's on top of this guy. And even though sheriffs, make that CHP officers are going to be hard to see right now because they are keeping a pretty good distance away from that big rig driver, the helicopter is very nearby, right on top. There's really nowhere for this guy to go. Once again, it's reported as a grand theft big rig suspect. He's southbound, still on Tippecanoe, or about a mile north of Interstate 10. Just a reminder, we first heard about the pursuit at 3:40 this afternoon, so we're going on 40 minutes now, and the rate he's going southbound on Waterman, he might opt to pick up Interstate 10. Now, these big rigs, they have generally a left tank and a right tank. If you've ever driven alongside a big rig, those tanks are very large. They can hold in excess of 80 gallons, and even though the mileage isn't all that great, they can run for an extreme long period of time. So if the guy does find his way back onto the 10 freeway through San Bernardino, eastbound out toward Redlands, this could go for quite a distance. Fortunately, on surface streets, he can only go so fast. The results could be disastrous if a big rig, a rig that large, a vehicle that large, runs an intersection and collides with somebody. It could be disastrous. Southbound on Tippecanoe, and he just made a right or westbound turn. We'll try to get that street for you in just a bit. And you can see that whole row of CHP officers just behind that big rig driver, as well as that county sheriff helicopter on top. We'll get back to that big rig here in just a bit. And again, he was on Tippecanoe southbound, but he has made a right turn, a westbound turn, and he may be communicating with that one CHP officer right there. The officer has his door open. He may be out of the vehicle trying to communicate with that driver. He may even approach that driver right now. And again, this is reported as a grand theft big rig. A very precarious situation now for CHP officers standing outside of their vehicle and pretty much head on with that guy. Officers behind him as well with their doors open. They've got high-powered weapons at the ready if they need it for any type of self-defense, but they will always exercise caution and try to keep everybody safe. What they're going to have to do now is shut all the traffic down here, shut pedestrian traffic down, shut surface street traffic down, and allow this guy a wide berth. You can see that one CHP officer, he's out in the middle of the street, and we're keeping the shot a bit wide right now just in case things take an ugly turn here. Oftentimes at the end of pursuit, shots can be fired. We don't want to show you anything that might be disturbing to viewers, but clearly this thing is still going on, very low speeds, and now he's dipped down to about 10 miles per hour through San Bernardino.
Yeah, this poses some really serious problems for law enforcement. First of all, a big rig obviously has a lot more, for lack of a better term, armor than a regular vehicle. It is a gigantic, super heavy vehicle. The momentum, if he does decide to actually run from the police, it'll be next to impossible to stop this without incurring a great deal of damage. They can't perform a pit maneuver on it. It's doubtful whether spike strips will work on it. Even guns will be difficult to use on this particular situation. This poses some huge problems, some very dangerous problems for law enforcement and the community, depending on how this driver decides to run from law enforcement. If he does decide to pick up steam, that's when things could get really serious here. The way he's moving now, Bill, clearly things are a lot safer than if he decided to hit the gas.
I've got no radios, Jay. You're half broken.
Okay, this is Bill. Bill is trying to maintain his altitude and deal with the situation up there.
But also,
and
we don't
communicate.
know. Yeah, we don't know his state of mind. You know, obviously, a grand theft auto suspect driving at like very, very slow speeds, not getting on the freeway. We really don't. They don't know what state of mind he is, or if he's armed.
And we wonder what that conversation was with that CHP officer, or perhaps it was a sheriff's deputy. But we wonder what that conversation was. Clearly, whoever that officer was able to at least slow this driver down, communicate with him a little bit. I don't know if the fact that it is continuing now, it didn't basically bear any fruit, but it's possible that they got a little bit of information with this guy. As we often see, people who are in these pursuits will use their cell phones, call their family members, call people that they know, or even talk to law enforcement and negotiate a surrender. We don't know if this guy has a cell phone. Perhaps maybe that's why there was some communication going on with an officer on the ground.
Well, you know, he has a radio.
Yeah. Oh, the CHP, I mean, excuse me, the truck driver.
Yeah.
Whether or not he knows how to use it, we don't know. If this is in fact a stolen vehicle, then there's the person who is driving this. We don't know how well he knows these vehicles, if he knows how to use a radio, etc. Clearly, from what I understand, I've never driven a big rig. I understand them to be a lot more difficult to drive than obviously a regular car. So you might have to have some expertise there. And
you know he's not going to get anywhere. So it's just a matter of how this ends, and hopefully it will end peacefully and end safely.
And you said it. His state of mind is probably the most important thing here, and whether he is actually willing to surrender. Let's go back to Bill Thomas in Air 7 HD. Bill?
Dave, we're tracking this guy's progress. He's westbound on San Bernardino Avenue. He's crossed over the Santa Ana River. Folks in the area know that San Bernardino Avenue turns into East Orange Show Road, and he's westbound now on Orange Show Road, heading back toward the fairgrounds, back toward the mall as well, still in San Bernardino. This is going on nearly 1 hour right now. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, they're telling us this is reported as a grand theft big rig. We know very little about the suspect. We don't know who's in that big rig outside of the driver, and that's why CHP officers in large numbers behind that big rig on the other side of Orange Show as well. They've got this guy surrounded. They're keeping a reasonable distance. In fact, you can see it's kind of hard to see where they all are behind that big rig, but a number of CHP officers in trail of that big rig driver very slowly westbound on Orange Show here in the city of San Bernardino. There's also that sheriff's helicopter overhead. Even when CHP officers decide to pull back, slow down, back off, that helicopter is going to track this guy's every move. This is a very large vehicle, and even if that trailer is empty, coming to a complete stop, if there's an emergency trying to get through an intersection and avoid traffic, it's going to be extremely complicated. So he was on Orange Show westbound. Look, he's made a right or a northbound turn. As we told you earlier, you can see a CHP officer there. That's northbound Waterman once again. You saw that CHP motor officer right there. These officers have this entire area surrounded. He's pretty much been making loops for the past 20, 25 minutes up and down Waterman Avenue, Arrowhead, E Street as well. He's been all over this particular area of the city of San Bernardino in San Bernardino County, and he's just making loop after loop. This is originally reported eastbound on the 10 freeway, right by the 215 freeway. That's where he got off at the Waterman off-ramp. He's been up and down Waterman a number of times, and now once again back on Waterman northbound. We don't know why this guy simply refuses just to pull over and stop. Anybody has to realize in a big rig on surface streets in the city, you can't outrun an unlimited resource of CHP officers and a helicopter overhead. So as with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and with CHP officers on the ground, we're going to keep the picture hot. We're going to follow this guy's every move. If there's any saving grace to this particular chase, fortunately, it's moving along at a very slow pace, and it looks as though the driver has that window rolled down. I can see inside just a little bit more, but can't see much beside the big rig driver. Looks like he has his hand up to his head, perhaps on a cell phone talking to somebody. Difficult to tell, but you look at the rear windows, the top window as well, everything is tinted, so it's almost impossible to see what else is happening inside the cockpit of that big rig. Are there other passengers? Are there people being held against their will? It's really unclear, and that's why CHP officers are doing all they can to give this guy a wide berth, and hopefully this comes to an end shortly.
Yeah, Bill, can you tell? I mean, it looks like he's just kind of sitting with his chin in his hand. I guess he's not talking on his cell phone, so I'm just kind of curious if you could tell much more from where you are. You probably can't. We're looking pretty closely at this. I don't see any other activity in there.
Nails. I mean, he could be completely in a state of stress. You know, who knows what he's thinking right now? But
what a predicament, though. And Bill's right. That's a good look at the cabin, and you see there's a large amount of space behind the driver. This is where drivers often actually live and sleep. So there's a considerable amount of room, and so you have to pursue this with a great deal of caution if you're law enforcement, because, as Bill said, you don't know who's in the cabin with him, if there are a number of other people, or if he's just by himself.
Yeah, we still don't know how he got a hold of this big rig.
Right. I'm sure police have a lot more details that they're letting us know. They probably know if this big rig is loaded with material, and they know the circumstances of how it was stolen. More than likely, we're probably not to get that information until
North Waterman
once
approaching
this
Mill.
is
If I have
pursuit
time,
is
I want
over
to switch
with.
my radios, Jay. If they're gonna keep
Hey, Bill, has he been still going in circles like he was a little bit earlier? Is he still kind of staying around the same place?
Past 20, 25 minutes. This has been a surface street of choice, Waterman Avenue. He's been up and down Waterman a number of times. Right now he's northbound on Waterman. He's crossed over the Santa Ana River once again, so he's going to be up by Orange Show, coming up on Central and Mill again. If he continues northbound, he might make another turn on Mill eastbound, which he did a short while ago, and that took him over to Tippecanoe. Now he's going to make a westbound turn. He's going to be on Waterman North, and he's on Mill, but this time westbound. Now, last time he went eastbound on Mill, so he's changing direction, but once again, he's staying in the same general area. Westbound on Mill in the city of San Bernardino. This is very close to the Inland Center Mall, to the National Orange Showgrounds as well. And fortunately, at this time, traffic is very light. A big rig, even if that trailer is empty, a big rig is very unmaneuverable. It's a very heavy vehicle, and with any amount of speed, it would be very difficult to bring that thing to a very quick halt. There you can see CHP officers right on top of that guy. A short while ago, we watched CHP officers get out of their cruiser, actually got out of the car, tried to approach the driver of the big rig to try to talk to him, to reason with him, to simply call it a day. But the guy did slow down, took a talk with him, but he just kept on going on surface streets in the city of San Bernardino. Mill is a two-lane east and westbound surface street. And it sounds like San Bernardino police, city police, they'll be taking over the chase now from CHP officers who were originally handling the chase on Interstate 10 when it began right around 340. But now that they're on surface streets and they've remained on surface streets, city police here in San Bernardino, they are preparing to take the handoff from CHP officers, and they'll be taking this over shortly. And just a reminder, we like to remind you whenever there's one of these pursuits in town, even though this is a slow speed pursuit, if it does come through your area, maybe somewhere where you work nearby, the worst thing you can do is go outside and try to get involved or take a look. Officers on the ground need a wide berth to bring this to a very peaceful conclusion, and getting in their way is only going to make their mission much more complicated. So if you are in the area in San Bernardino, in the city of San Bernardino, please stay indoors. Keep the doors and windows locked. Sometimes these things come to an end. People get out and make a run for it, and you don't want to get involved in any of that. So at this point, CHP officers on top of the guy, and they will be turning the chase over to the city of San Bernardino, to local police here in the next several minutes.
All right, Bill, you were watching ABC 7 Eyewitness News at 4 p.m. It is now right about 4:30 as we are continuing to watch this pursuit of a big rig. There you see it. It's a very slow speed pursuit that started in Fontana, is now in San Bernardino. San Bernardino police have now just taken over the pursuit. We're trying to get some information, but it's reported as a grand theft auto. Somebody stole this truck apparently, and CHP tried to pull it over, and it refused to yield. As a result, this pursuit has been going on for the better part of a half hour
Yeah,
now.
and just earlier this week, we saw a dump truck in pursuit, and now we're watching this big rig slowly make its way down the streets. I was looking up some information about big rigs, and they're about 40 tons compared, or 80,000 pounds, and compared to like a 5,000-pound car,
Yeah.
80 feet long.
And you could see the way he maneuvered by these corners. Just driving these enormous vehicles can be exceptionally dangerous. It does appear that he does know how to handle a big rig. He took a tight corner there. We don't know the state of mind. We don't know how many people are in the cab of this truck. We've been simply watching this just as you have, and trying to figure out what tactics police and law enforcement can use on this big rig. By the way, let me correct myself. This started at 3:14, so it's been going on for about an hour and 15 minutes now.
Yeah, and you can imagine, they can't really use the spike strip 18 wheels, and they're just sort of following him very slowly, and he's stayed away from freeways, thank goodness.
And you wonder about the gasoline then, if this is one of those things that's going to continue to move and keep going, and then you wonder about his fuel and how what the situation is when it comes to that. And then, go ahead.
Oh, we're just hearing that apparently earlier on he dropped off a female and a dog. So we know that. So maybe he is alone in that cab.
Okay, so we have a little bit more information when it comes to that. This was apparently reported as a stolen vehicle. We have a stop here. Let's go to Bill Thomas.
Yeah, they have come to a stop once again on Arrowhead. This is Arrowhead in the city of San Bernardino. Those are, I believe, CHP officers and perhaps city police moving in as well. Now, the doors of the big rig are open. I can see the driver. We're going to try to work around that pole if we can. The driver is still sitting in the rig. Now he's out of the big rig cab.
Oh.
He's down on the ground. He is complying with police officers. He's down on the ground doing exactly what they want him to do. And again, this is on Arrowhead in the city of San Bernardino. This pursuit began at 3:13 this afternoon westbound on the 60 in the Rubidoux area. Before long, the guy was on Interstate 10. He exited the freeway at Waterman. Has been running around surface streets all over the city of San Bernardino for quite some time. And then just moments ago, CHP officers on the ground, they turned this over to city police. So those are San Bernardino city police officers with their guns drawn. They're using that car as their armor to approach that driver. This is reported as a grand theft big rig. And once again, this chase reportedly started right around 3:13. They're approaching that driver using their cruiser as armor, as defense, and they'll be approaching that driver on the ground in the next couple of minutes. You've got at least 8, maybe 10 officers and a number of additional cruisers right behind him. They've got this guy surrounded. As they approach him, other officers are checking the big rig, making sure there's no one else inside the big rig. We'll go in tight now. They've got this guy. He's got his hands and legs spread, hands behind his back, cuffs are on, and finally, after close to, it's been about an hour and a half now, this guy is in handcuffs, and the chase has come to an end. Judging by the police officers on the ground, it looks like they have cleared the big rig cab as well. I can't see anybody in the cab, and they're trying to clear traffic through the area. So fortunately, the chase did come to an end. First reported at 3:13, about 4:33. One suspect in custody. The chase has come to an end. And again, this is in the city of San Bernardino, not far from the National Orange Showgrounds, and again on Arrowhead Street, not too far from the San Bernardino International Airport. Suspect in custody. Back to you.